Okay, here we go. My voice. Let's try this. Batman stared hard at him for a moment, saying nothing, his gaze intense. "I pity you, Joker," he finally spoke, shaking his head. "I really do." And then he turned, walking back towards the cell's exit. "There's food there," he waved to the tray, looking back. The Joker's head hung low as he tried to will the vomit back down his throat, his fingers curling in rage underneath his palms, digging hard enough into the flesh to draw blood. He refused to humiliate himself further in front of this man. "Eat it slowly or you'll throw up again," the vigilante continued, opening the door. Before stepping out, he turned fully to face the madman. "There's no revenge for you this time, Joker," he said. "No satisfaction. You'll have to live with what's been done." The Joker looked up at him finally, despite the room spinning before his eyes, his anger enveloping every fibre of his being. "You're my prisoner now," Batman went on, "and under my watch you won't be getting out." With that, he turned, stepping out of the room, locking the door behind him. The Joker's teeth ground together as his eyes shut tight, and he stayed in that position on his knees for several seconds until finally he could no longer hold in his anger, and he forced himself to his feet, stumbling uneasily over to the food tray and taking it up in his hands, hurling with all his strength against the closed door. "I don't need your goddamn pity, Batman!" he yelled as the food and platter smashed against the metal entry, its contents falling all over the place. All the madman could see was red as he spun around, looking for something, anything he could destroy. "You're the one who garners pity, you wretch! Wallowing in self-loathing!" He nearly went to the bolted-on sink, taking the porcelain titan in his hands and pulling, leaning back so that all his weight was supported only by his hold on the thing, straining so hard to get the fixture from the wall that his face began to turn red with the effort. And finally, it became too much and he lost his grip, falling backwards onto his bottom. He staggered to his feet again, running to the toilet, trying to lift the tank lid, but the thing was welded tight, so he clawed at the handle, trying to rip it from its spot, so persistent that finally his fingers began to tear and bleed. Finally, it was gotten, and I don't think wbss21 got that right. I think I'm just going to say gone. Finally, it was gone, and he stared at the small plastic object for a moment, realizing at once its uselessness, and raging further, slamming it against the floor so hard it shattered. And he moved to the cot, tearing the blanket and pillow away, digging his now bloody fingers into the material of the bed, attempting desperately to tear a hole through the thick covering. It yielded no results, and finally he gave up, turning violently and hurling himself towards the scattered tray, taking it up and driving it wildly, viciously against the metal door, over and over until the thing broke into pieces. And then he dropped sullenly to his knees, gripping his head between his hands, his fingers digging painfully into his scalp as his eyes closed and his teeth ground together. He looked as though he were in the worst kind of pain. Batman had been watching all this unfold on the room's security monitor, taken aback. The madman was losing it. Leaving the room, though he denied it to himself, Bruce had felt an all-consuming gratification at what he'd done, finally wiping the smile from the Joker's face, hurting him the way he had, but he couldn't admit how much he'd enjoyed it. He couldn't accept he felt those things, felt immense satisfaction at overpowering and controlling the lunatic and making him squirm and writhe, so he ignored the sensation, while at the same time indulging his curiosity to see just how the psychopath would react. Seeing what he now did, though, he was suddenly consumed by a nagging feeling of guilt as he realized the Joker may very well hurt himself in his rage and desperation, and his fear became reality as he watched the maniac again rise to his feet and move to the wall, suddenly smashing his own head against the metal repeatedly. "Damn it!" Batman hissed, turning from the monitor and running for the cell. Unlocking the door as quickly as possible, he rushed in and towards the Joker, wrapping the madman in his arms from behind and pulling him from the wall. "Joker, stop it!" he growled against the thin man's ear, but the Joker only fought viciously against the hold, flailing madly. Bruce held tight, nearly losing his grip when he was thumbed in the eye. It drove the vigilante harder to gain control as he forced the madman forward and down until he lay flat on his stomach, Batman pinning his wrists to the floor. From the position he now found himself in, and from the exhaustion of having exerted so much energy tearing the place apart, the Joker could barely move at all as the vigilante leaned down on him from behind. Batman watched him carefully, noting his ragged and struggled breath, and finally the blood trickling from the lunatic's forehead onto the floor, along with his bloody fingers and again unset broken thumb. He shook his head. "Joker, you have to stop," he finally said. He waited for his enemy to explode and to struggle against him, but the Joker just lay still, doing nothing, the side of his face pressed flat against the concrete floor. "Let me up," he finally said, his voice quiet, calm even. "If I let you up, are you gonna go berserk again?" The Joker said nothing, remaining still. "If you do, I'll have to put you down," Batman warned. There. All done. Guys, if you ever feel like I'm adding sound effects to this fanfiction read to make it more interesting, you can do that if you want, because that would make it much more convincing. Bye. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment too if you want to. See ya.